What up? What up? It's your boy H2O. Welcome back to the New Balance Podcast, the place of second chances and the place where we are calibrating for success. So glad to be back with you. I want to say thank you to all our subscribers, those that supported. Much love to the village. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Listen, we're back with another one. We jumped off into this new title, Coming Up for Air, and I don't want to waste a lot of time. I got two great guests on. One you may know, I don't know, you might remember her, I guess, maybe not, but New Balance Podcast, show some love for Destiny and Bria. What up, ladies?
Hey.
Doing?
Yeah. Man, this feels like easy like Sunday morning. Destiny all outside, Bria inside, chilling, you know. Oh man, and I'm not gonna even tell y'all what we were talking about before we jumped on. That's our business. Y'all mind y'all business. But I'm so glad to be on with these ladies. This is gonna be a great episode today. We got some very heartfelt things we're gonna discuss and touch on. And those that have been following thus far, coming up for air, man, that's everybody. I don't know a single person that's living in this time, whether it's to a greater or to a lesser degree, who hasn't had to come up for air. All of us. And that's what I love about it. It puts all of us on an even playing field. And many times, I know, at least in my life, some things you go through, it almost feels like, man, it's just me. Little old me. Why me? Lord, why me? And whatever that is. And listen, I say that jokingly, but it's the truth, because there are some situations in life that will make you question who you are, question where your place is in life, and it's very valid. But today we're bringing hope. Not only are we bringing hope, we're bringing help. These two young ladies, they have a lot in common, but then they have those differences that makes them stand out and be unique. So I'll guess I'll start. I'll start with the both of them. Destiny and Bria, tell us a little bit about who you are. These two young ladies actually know each other, but tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do in life, and some of the things you're passionate about.
You want to go first, Destiny?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Oh, look at them. They so nice. You want to go first? You want to go first? I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, so as Mr. Harry mentioned, I'm Destiny. I'm an author from Houston, Texas. Well, I'm originally from Fort Worth, Texas, but I live in Houston now.
Yeah.
And so I love to write books and tell stories. And here recently, in the last 2 years, I've gotten into fiction books. So that's kind of the lane that I want to go into. And also, I love to do screenwriting.
Yeah.
As well.
I love it.
And I'm Bria. I'm Destiny's best friend. I'm also from Fort Worth, and I am a mom, a business analyst, and I'm passionate about personal finance and budgeting.
I love it. I love it. Whoever you are that's listening, I'm gonna be quiet and let these ladies talk. I really want you to tap in and plug in and hear, the stories of these young ladies. Hear how they met their passion. I want you to hear how they had to figure out when things maybe didn't look so clear for them to navigate their way through. And I want you also to pull nuggets away from not how they got there, but how they're able to stay there. And so I'll start with you, Bria. Business analyst. I really don't know what that is, but it sounds like a cool title, right? I'm a business analyst. I'll analyze your business. I know I'm having a moment, right? But no, I think it's cool when we can learn about things that we don't know about, and I'm all about exposure. So share with us what a business analyst is. Talk about being a mom, and then both of you ladies are from Fort Worth. I went to college, Paul Quinn, PQC Nation. Excuse me. So I'm like, much love for the Dallas Fort Worth area. So tell us a little bit about that, Brittany.
About being a business analyst. Okay,
Yes,
so
yes.
business analyst is it's kind of a broad title.
Okay.
It's a lot of different people have that title, but can do different things. For me, I'm kind of more along the lines of a project manager, so to speak. So I kind of like, for example, my company is a software vendor. So we have a software and then clients buy our software. Those clients, they want to implement the software they sell insurance. So I'm like the in-between person for that. So I find out what all they need for us to put into our software, and then we build it out for them. It's kind of like, the middleman between a customer and like an IT developer or somebody like that.
Got it.
Yeah, and it's mostly just following through projects and making sure they get everything that they need into their system, that type of stuff.
Got it. So let me ask you this, because when you said business analyst, the first thing came to mind was project manager. So I was in the vein there. In college, your major, are you in the field of your major, or did you have to make a pivot and have a new balance when you went into the workforce?
I definitely had to make a pivot.
Okay.
I majored in economics and finance.
Got
So nothing to do with what I do.
Okay. I got it.
Finance analyst, like a corporate finance analyst. That's what I was trying to do. But it kind of just didn't work out. It didn't really work out for me. So this is kind of the path that I've kind of, I guess, I feel like it fits me. This path fits me a little bit more. It fits my personality a little bit more. And so that's what I do now.
So, okay, that's great. So talk about, you said it fits you, it's more of your personality. So how did you, in essence, come up for air? Because you spend all this time in economics, you have an economics outlook, you have the possibilities of being in economics and making this great life, this great career, but you find yourself having to make a new balance in it or coming up for air. What does that look like? What's the process of doing it? Because obviously that's a tough thing to do, especially when you're coming out of college, man. It's like, look, I've been in school for a year. Somebody about to hire me. You understand? Like it's time to pull down on this education, but yet you find yourself having to be in another lane. So what does it look like to maybe somebody who's been in school, for one thing, they're out now and they're trying to figure it out now? How do you help them come up for air? What worked for you?
That's a good question. Because I kind of feel like it's trial and error.
Okay.
Like you really don't know what works for you right away.
Okay.
Even I think if you think you do, you really don't. So okay. I kind of feel like it also depends on what motivates you. Some people, they're okay with whatever job they get as long as it's paying them what they need to make. Some people need the fulfillment from what they're doing to be able to get up and keep doing that job every day. So I feel like for a college student that's just coming out of school, my advice would be to just go with it. Like whatever job you get, take it and go with it, because you never know where it might lead. I started out as the auto claims adjuster. Okay. And ended up in this position, which is two totally different things, but it happened within the same company. Because by doing that first job, I realized I don't like being on the phone and I don't like talking to people like that. Right. So I'm looking for other things, like other jobs that are posted in these job descriptions of things that seem like they would fit me more. Got it. And those jobs that I interviewed for were the ones where the interviews felt the most comfortable. And I
Love
felt
it.
like I could be myself and I didn't have to make up answers. I could answer truthfully,
I
and I
love it.
got those jobs immediately.
I love
So
it.
I would say to just kind of go with, just because you might come out getting a job that's like, this is not what I wanted to do. You never know where it might lead.
I got it. Man, Destiny, you didn't tell me Brill, she already in her bag, man. We ain't been on but a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
I love it. That's good stuff. That's great stuff. Somebody's out trying to figure it out. Obviously, we use the college student, but it could be somebody that's been on a job maybe 20, 15 years and they find themselves having to come up for air, have a new balance, pivot, whatever you want to call it. It is real. The key is you cannot panic. Don't panic. Now, somebody that's drowning, it's hard to tell them don't panic because the only thing that they're thinking of is I'm about to drown. I'm about to swallow all this water. But the key is this: when the lifeguard goes in to save the person, you never see a lifeguard swim in front of a person to save them. In other words, they don't go into the panic. They come behind the person so that they can properly help them and get them out of harm's way. So if you're listening, you have to, when you're coming up for air, don't go into the panic of the situation. You got to come around behind it. What do you have when you come behind the panic versus what you do when you come in front of it? It gives you vision, it gives you focus, and you know exactly how you need to grab it to pull yourself out of it. I know I'm in my bag earlier. Okay, all right. That's what we're doing. Bree, she done started off and threw me an alley-oop. It's good to be able to talk to people and hear how they overcame. There was a time and season where it just felt like everything I touched, I lost. It didn't prosper. And I'm telling you, especially for men, we can only handle so much loss, so much disappointment. It affects us in a way that's really, really bad. So those that are listening, that are needing to come up for air, I want you to don't give up. We're with you. We're standing with you. And as you heard, Bria, you may have to take this and start with it. But the key is I'm going to keep playing. I'm going to keep going to the plate swinging because eventually I'm going to get a hit that's going to eventually get me back home to the place that I want to be. And now, I listened to her talk. It's like she's cool in this role. She said it fits her. You know what I mean? She's making things happen. And that's what we want to hear. So thank you, Bria, for saying that, sharing that information. Now, Destiny, y'all, Destiny does like 2,000 things, man. She's like, she can just probably do anything. If I ask her to do something, she could probably do it, right? One of the things she did share, she talked about being an author. Destiny is so much more than an author, right? And I want her to get in her bag and talk to us about things or talk about an area where she had to come up for air or pivot, new balance, whatever it was. Talk to us, Destiny, because we know what comes along with having to write a book. And, I'll use one of my son's terms. It looks real sexy when you're signing books and people want to take pictures with you and, and your IG is popping, but people are not there when you're up in the middle of the night and you worked all day. You got to come home to make your vision and you got to send it to the editor and the editor sends it back. You got to correct it. Then you're thinking about the promotional side and the money to pay for this. It's a lot that goes into being an author, right? Talk about some of your coming up for air moments, Destiny. I know you have a few that you can share with us that really be a blessing.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think the first step in most youngins when they graduate from high school is what's next. And
right.
I grew up in a house with my dad where it was either the military or college. So college was the one I chose. I don't know how the military would have worked for me. So just even the transition into college, it was a lot. It's very overwhelming. You think you know what you're doing and something else comes up. You got to go to the financial aid office every day. You basically,
man, Garrett.
I swear they knew me by name because I was just
Destiny, I didn't want you to go that deep into your bag, girl. I said admissions and financial. Girl, stop it, man. It was.
Man, it's.
I'm telling you. Yes. Yes.
College,
Yeah.
it definitely teaches you a lot about life, about
Right.
yourself, how strong you are, and it definitely made me the person I am today. I'm definitely
Mm-hmm.
grateful for the opportunity that I had there, and then that's how I discovered even writing,
Yeah.
and even with writing, it's kind of like an avenue that I'm still trying to find just how to like how to kind of push it, how to market it, and just get it out there. It's one of those things that you have to continuously build and work on. And in our communities, most people don't read like that. Like
Right.
my books aren't like a Harry Potter book or Hunger Games.
Absolutely.
So kind of just finding ways to kind of make it kind of work for me to where I can like get it out there and expand my brand and just my writing so more people basically have access to it. And one way that I kind of come up with a way to do that is journals, which
Mm.
I think I came across a video on YouTube, and there was this lady, she was saying how journals are really popular on Amazon. I think in this day and age too, people just like things that are simple and
Mm-hmm.
easy to access and can help them do whatever. And if it
Mm-hmm.
looks good, people are real obsessed with how things look, how it sounds.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of just been working on that. I released my first one almost at the end of last year, and then I'm getting ready to come out with another one.
Okay.
But I think life in general, especially like in your 20s, it's trial and error, like Bria said. You literally are
Yeah.
just trying things and trying to figure things out. I also have been in the insurance field as well. I used to be a claims adjuster for like not long. It didn't even last a year at Allstate because that phone, whew,
I know it.
that's some other
We
kind of stress.
listen, man. We all listen. That's crazy. We all have that in common. I didn't last
Yeah.
long as a claim adjuster either, man. I had to move around.
hmm
Yeah, I
Yeah.
did.
It's
Yeah, I
it's
was a
a
raider.
tough career.
It is
It's
tough
a very
in
tough
that
career.
arena, right? I was a raider
hmm
first, then I went to claim adjusting. I was like, no, I got to go to the side, man. Even though I'm a talker, I didn't want to talk like that. I didn't want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Same.
Yeah,
It's a lot. You explain things a million times. People still gonna
absolutely.
talk crazy. So
It
it teaches you a lot though. Bria did it
does.
for a long time. I don't know how
It
she made
does.
it through, but
It
so
does.
it's really just like in your 20s, it's a lot of trial and error. Most times you're gonna feel like you're drowning anyways.
Mm,
I kind of just when stuff happen now, I'm kind of used to it. Just find a solution, find a way to work through it because that's what my 20s were. I just felt like I was constantly always drowning, but still was above water a little bit, but just had to try to
yeah,
figure
it
out
is.
ways to maneuver, try things, do things, get advice from other people that have gone through it and
Mhm.
that are kind of where you want to be and kind of just go and grow from there. I think an individual that I learned a lot from, like creatively wise, is Q Guyton, who owns the Media Block.
Absolutely.
Because his story is kind of like the same. Him and his wife and her twin sister, they kind of all maneuver from being like full-time 9 to 5 workers to being full-time business owners. And I feel
Absolutely.
like in this day and age, just having a job won't cut it anyway. So you kind of gotta find other things to do just to make a living. But I think definitely Q for sure helped me tap into my creative side, and that kind of
Definitely.
made like the process a little easier. I feel
Okay.
like once you find something that you're passionate about and that you actually want to do, that's going to be your driving force in trying to make it and get to wherever your desired goal is. Because I don't feel like I've made it to my desired place, but I don't think we ever will. We're just constantly evolving and trying to get there.
Yeah.
We receive new accolades and reach new steps in the process, but we're always constantly going to be evolving and chasing towards that thing that we're passionate about and that we
Right.
love.
Oh man. Man, you said something that made me think of this. You made a statement that I always found myself in it, but I was able to keep myself above water.
Mhm.
And when you made that statement, is it safe to say that you have, I won't say that you're a master at it, but you figured out how to doggy paddle?
Basically, yep.
And
Basically.
and doggy paddle. And I want to ask this question. I'm not being facetious, but is doggy pedaling, is that swimming or is that survival mode? I'm asking a question because I want to hear, I'm curious how you guys see it or what you think about it, because I'm going somewhere with this. What do you think? Is doggy pedaling swimming or is it a survival tactic to help you maintain through this time until you're able to get to point B, C, D, or E, or J? I want you guys to answer that.
It's a survival
Oh,
tactic.
yeah.
Okay. I love it. It's surviving.
It's for sure it's a survival tactic.
Got it.
Because I just feel like if you think about, I never took swim lessons, but my son did.
Yes.
And I feel like that's one of the things that his swim teacher taught him was like, if you can't do nothing else, then just doggy paddle, and just,
right.
Try to keep yourself up with that. And I feel like that's what a lot of us are doing in our community, just surviving. And it's because that's all we've seen growing up is we've only seen our parents just surviving. They only saw their parents just surviving.
Yes.
And so it's just a continuous like, oh, well, my parents made it to this age doing this, so I can do it too. And we never see the real Olympic swimmers going. Like we never see that ever.
That's it.
In our immediate families. You might see like a friend of the family, like, oh, they're doing really well, but you don't see it in your immediate family.
And because we don't see it, and that's why we have to have role models. Was it, I don't think it was this Olympics. Let's see, what this is, where am I, 2023? So not 2022, I think it was 20, whatever, the Olympics before it. We had the black girl from Sugar Land that won the Olympic gold in swimming. Wasn't she like the first one?
I think so.
Yeah, I think she was.
The same year Simone Biles won every gold medal. Then she won gold in the swimming. Have we even seen a sister swimming in the Olympics?
Nope.
Now, when we saw her in the Olympics, I was like, okay, that's interesting. I didn't show no hate, but I just like, that's interesting. Why? I just never seen it. It's not that I shouldn't give her a shot, but it's new. But she went in there, hey, she has a gold medal. She's earned her place in history. And whenever they talk about swimming, they have to mention her name as a gold medal champion. And I think we've been destined to be champions in different eras, but it's hard to be a champion when you don't have a role model or you don't have a reference point of what that is. So when you see the same thing happening over and over and over and over, somebody has to make a decision like, I'm going to come up for air. Me coming up for air is going to help all these people coming behind me, right? Bria said, Bria just stole my ass. I was going to try to stretch it out, but Bria just went there and popped. Tell Bria to get out of her bag. I wanted to stretch it, but Bria like, no, I got the answer. But she's spot on. She hit it. She went exactly where I wanted to go. But Destiny, tell me, do you think doggy paddling is a survival mode or do you think it's swimming? What do you think it is?
No, I agree. It's definitely survival mode. For one, it's hard to do. You can't do it for long. You're going to get tired.
Yes.
It's hard to do. So that's why it's survival mode for sure.
Yeah. See, okay. All right. I'm really not deep. I'm not a deep guy, but at this tender age that I am now, when I think back over things, I think about things that shape my ideas. Obviously, the number one influence in my life was my mom. When you hear me talk, things I say, I would guarantee you almost 60 to 70% of it is her. But growing up, we had shows growing up. When I say these shows, you guys will be very familiar with them. Sanford and Son. We had the Jeffersons. We had What's Happening. There was one show that we had called Good Times. I love the show. But the fact that they had the audacity to name that show Good Times and never was there an episode where they experienced a good time. The thing that you take away from Good Times is that they had their family maintained and stuck together. But they never, in those projects and all that stuff, that they never experienced good times. And a part of that, when I look at that, even though that was a sitcom, we know media has the power to shape thoughts, shape intentions, shape belief systems. We can still see like a good times mentality of what we're dealing with now. And it's no shot at good times or people who like the show or anything. But I think of things like that when I'm talking about, because I think part of the theme song, keeping your head above water.
Yeah.
Isn't that part of the
Making a
song?
way when you
Making
can.
a way when you can. Temporary layoffs. Good time. What's good about a temporary layoff? I've been laid off. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let me get off my back. Okay. I'm just saying, listen, man, don't send me no emails, don't talk about, it's not that. I'm just wanting us to think differently. That's all. I wanted us to look at the things that we're needing to come up for air from. And there are some areas, and I'm embarrassed to say this, there are some areas in my life, not now, but there was some pockets where I was actually coming up from air through like a 5 to 10 year period. Now people's like, oh my God, well, you came up. Like, yeah, but man, that's 10 years of my life I can never get back. So the caveat is this: how can we help people show them how to go ahead and come up for air? Because you can get another house, you can get another job, get another car, get you some more money and all that other stuff. But the number one commodity is your time. You can't get that time back. You can't get that space back. So like we have to learn how to make our days count. So how do I want to ask this question? I know what I want to say. We're talking about coming up for air generationally. There's always been friction between generations, right? It's always been there. I remember we are the hip hop and breakdancing generation, right? So the first time with my boombox, I played Run DMC. My mother and my aunts, they looked at me like, what in the world is that? They mocked it, made fun of it. And then my grandfather, we would go to the grocery stores and I told him I needed cardboard. So he would give me all these cardboard boxes. I taped them together and graffitied it. And then I started breakdancing. Like, this boy done lost his mind. They thought that rap music was the world's, like, this is the craziest genre. But 50 years later, it's still here. It's like the number one genre. My point is, they thought we were just out there. But look at us. We made it. I think we turned out pretty good. Now, me and my son, we have the same conversations, right? So I'm not as critical, I would say, as mine, right? Because I understand things grow and change. For me, it's just an understanding. Some of that, I'm like, man, do you listen to that? Because I don't even understand what they're saying. I don't even understand the attraction. I was like, if they were rappers when we were kids, these rappers would go broke because we would not buy it. I wouldn't listen to it. And there's no shot at it. I get it. Hey, that's not what it's about. The thing is this: what's where's the middle place for us working together to come up for air in terms of generationally? And then I'm gonna give you an example and I want you to respond. One of the things I think how we can work together generationally to come up for air is when my generation is open and honest with your generation. It's like, you know what? I know what it was like when I was there. And, however you need to expect. My big thing, I've learned, I hadn't always known to do it, but I've just learned, I just take ownership. Man, it was so dumb. It was so crazy. It was so stupid. And I really am. When I say I'm embarrassed to say, I am embarrassed to say some of the behaviors, some of the activity. I can't believe that I used to be that person, or I thought that way, or I did that. But what I try to do with my kids I mentor, kids that I'm connected with, no matter what the age group, I was like, man, when I was there, man, I fell through these potholes. And this is why I fell in the pothole. I don't know if we're always that honest with each other. And I'll say this in your generation's defense. I feel a lot of times there's a break in communication and there's a trust barrier because my generation or the generation before, we won't be open and honest about the things where we faltered or we just lost it, right? And I know it's a lot of pressure on you just to be so good, get it right, do what I say, but we all know it's not. You can tell your son do what I say, but he gonna do what he sees, right? So that's an example. What do you guys think as it relates generationally? Because I'm gonna continue to have this generational talk. I think there's communications have broken down, and I feel like it's a lot of animosity. I see it in homes. I see where it's so hard for parents and children to communicate or just be on the same page. I see it in business relationships where you have generations where the ideologies are so different and it's so tough in our communities to come together. I look at other communities, they thrive. I see them in their family. They have some of the same problems we have. But if you look at business wise and other things, they're thriving in those places. Why? Because they understand that there's a meeting place where we got to meet. So I'm curious to hear from you ladies. What does that look like? What do you think about that in terms of us bridging the gap there as it relates to coming up for air together?
Well, I think the first thing, what you said about being honest about your, like the older generation being honest with the younger generation about their experiences, that is important. But the most important part of that is being honest about it early on in life, like not waiting until, your child is in their mid 20s and have already made these mistakes. And then
Got
it's
it.
like, oh, it's okay, I did that. Like, it probably would be more beneficial to share it throughout their childhood.
Got it.
Like, this happened to me, like, so that they can know when it's coming. Like, as opposed to experiencing this major situation or whatever it is, and then afterwards being like, yeah, I went through that too. Like, okay, but that don't really help me at this point because I already went through it. Like, it would have helped if you would have told me before. I probably could have avoided this situation. So I think that is something that can help. But I also think that the younger generation has to understand that there are some things that our older generation doesn't even understand themselves for them to be able to guide us on certain things. So I think it goes kind of both ways.
That's good. Oh man, that's great. What about you, Destiny?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Bria. I feel like there were some things, and I don't feel like it was, my parents' fault or anything, but I feel like it was certain things that I could have known before, like even going to college, that probably would have kept me from going through certain things in my 20s. I feel like our generation, millennials, we're kind of in that mix in between of like technology and everything coming into play. We kind of saw both sides. And then like our parents' generations, they kind of saw even before technology even came, phones and all of that, they seen so much more than we have. So I feel like it's kind of with especially the generation that's coming up now, it's they're kind of, I don't even know what to call it, a little more stubborn. It's like you kind of have to break things down to them more. And for the older generation, it's gonna take way more patience.
Yes.
I don't want to get like too in it, but
we
live in a world where, names and pronouns and that's kind of coming into play.
Absolutely. Yeah, we can go down here.
Yeah. Okay. I'm on the he and she. I don't want to call you no pronoun, but also I don't want to be disrespectful. So it would just be a conversation that we would have to have for me to understand that, because I don't understand it. I just know he, she. I don't want to call you anything else. But just the understanding, because things are like changing, I mean, fast and rapidly. And the younger generation now, I feel like I'm old now because I'm like saying, I don't understand like some of the music that they listen to. I don't understand it because it sucks. It's trash. But I can't
Yeah.
tell them what they can listen to, and it might be a reason why they're listening to it.
Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah.
but it's just a different generation. I think me and Bria were having this conversation earlier where they say most kids in America want to be content creators.
Yep.
And so even understanding that, because I think social media is just a big fraud. I believe there's good things that can come from it, and you can use it in a good way that can bring about something good. But there's also a lot of negative things that can come from it as well.
Definitely.
So it's really just a matter of kind of understanding one another, and know that things, will change. Change is a part of life. So nothing's gonna ever be the same, and you kind of just have to be open-minded. And I know it's hard.
It is.
That's probably one of the biggest things that I struggle with, because they have it now everywhere. They got it in our jobs. They want you to put it in our email signatures. I'm like, I'm just a she. That's it.
That's
I
it.
don't use no pronoun.
That's it.
But
I got you.
it's a different world. So
It's definitely a different world. Man, thank you, ladies. That is so good. And I'm so glad that you commented on it. And I want to tell you what I heard from you. And if you want to elaborate more on it, you definitely have the platform to do so. The first thing that I heard that I think is so good, because we're working on these systems. I care about what happens next door. I care about when I see father and son. I care about when I see mother and daughter. Like when I see things, it affects me. That bothers me. I lived in a broken home, but because of my mother, her faith, and because of her tenacity to make sure we were going to have everything we needed to be successful in life, I'm like, if we could survive in how I had to come up after her and my dad split, I don't feel like nobody has an excuse in life not to fight for it. So my mentality is totally different. I understand the difference is whether you have the tools or not. So the first thing I heard from you is, coming from our generation, we need to be more like weather broadcasters. Before Harvey even got here, we knew that was going to be a bad storm, right? Now, we could never foresee the impact that it was going to have, but we know it. Why? Because we already had Ike, Rita. What was the storm that tore up New Orleans? I forget the name of it. That called Katrina. We had, watch this, we had a database. So Harvey, it was like warning us 4 or 5 days before the storm hit. Now, Harvey did the damage that it did, right? But think about how much more damage would have happened if nobody would have broadcast to us that Harvey came, right? You could at least, hey, if you have cars, we're going to park them up as high as we can so they don't flood. We're going to go buy all the water we can, get all the tissue and stuff we don't have to get, batteries, flashlight. In other words, you are prepared for the storm. The storm is going to hit whether you want to or not. And what I hear you say that is like, look, I know this era in your life is coming. So I need to be a weather broadcast for life. And I want you to know that Harvey is coming. You need to get your extra batteries, make sure your battery packs are charged up. And I'm telling you right now, I know you talking about you don't like drinking a lot of water. During Harvey, all you're going to be able to drink is water. So when you said that, that's what came to mind. And you are absolutely right. We have a responsibility. I came out of that broken situation when my parents had to ugly split. And I'm so thankful that even though that happened, I was 9. I made a decision at 9 years old that when I would grow up, I would have my own family. I would have a wife and kids, and that my family was going to stay together. Now, it's no shade on my mom, and it's definitely no shade on my dad. But me and my wife, we get ready to celebrate 27 years. It didn't just happen. It's been on purpose, right? I either had a chance. I could have been a victim of it. I'm going to be a victor out of it. Couldn't even articulate how I felt, all the stuff that happened. I just made a decision through a painful situation. And then my mom had to raise us by herself. We went from having an all right life to having a sorry life. I'm talking about it was sorry. I'm just straight up. Man, being a single mother, that's a sorry program. It's just not God's best for us. But in our community, a sister is known to do what she got to do. I want to do something to change the narrative. Okay, you and mama can't be together. Y'all couldn't work it out. Make sure you're in the kid's life. Partner with the mama. Okay, we couldn't make it, but we got to figure out how we're going to raise them together or raise them together. Let's do some new math with a new math mind, right? Because we know it's going to be better for him, for them, right? Okay, whatever mistakes we did, the kids shouldn't have to suffer for it. So that's the first thing I heard. The other thing that I heard, Destiny, when you talked about that, we live in a day where there's so much outside pressure to make you turn and change your convictions about what you feel and you believe, right? And I'm telling people that that pressure is not going anywhere. It's only going to get greater. So what's the solution? Because Destiny said it, and I do. I feel your heart when you say, I don't want to offend anybody, right? Right. And you're absolutely right. But the fact that I can be offended based off of what you want to pour down my throat, that's a problem. So what's the answer of how do we deal with it? Well, it's this. There are some absolutes. There are some absolute wrongs and there's some absolutes right. Now, obviously, I'm a person of faith. I believe in my faith, and that's how my life is governed. I understand that everybody doesn't govern their life that way, right? But because you don't, it doesn't give you a right to put the pressure on me to change my convictions. So just like you want me to respect you, and I do respect your choice. Even though I don't agree with it, I do respect it. But I'm gonna respect it over, you gotta respect it over there, right? And I'm gonna respect over here. So when it comes to your employer, they force feed us things that we didn't have any say in, any feedback in, because they want to be prevalent and relevant. They don't want to stand under the pressure. So how do you function in those things? It's two things for me. One thing is you're going to have to figure out how you're going to have to be vice versa. Not meaning change your condition, change your convictions about how you feel, but you're going to have to learn how to live in that world. The other thing is you're going to have to say, I'm not living in that world. I'm going to have my own, and then I'll make the rules for how things are. Those are the two choices, right? So for stress purposes, you have to just come to a conclusion, and especially if you have kids. It's like, man, I have to make this choice. I know it's tough, right? These are tough conversations to have, but we have to have them. We have to have them. You and I both know they're being had in the wrong way, right? And I don't want to be political about it, but if we're dependent on parties to make these decisions for us, well, we already know where we're going to end up. That changes like night and day. So the power, right, and the foundation of things that always starts with the family. So what I encourage our community to do is this. We need to go back to being who we've always been, meaning from community purposes. We've always had strong communities when you look over time. Were there holes in them? Absolutely. But the core of that community was strong. We had more men in that community. We had more fathers at home, right? There was more camaraderie between mom and dad. The grandparents were more involved, right? Now it seems like the kids run things. The kids decide, they dictate what happens. That's a direct disrespect to the order of what God put in place. So for those of us who know it's tough, but we have to still make a stance, right? And we have to speak up. So it's like, well, how do I do it? Well, first you have to find out. We live in the state of Texas. Find out what your state allows and what it doesn't allow, right? What's another way? We got to vote. You support candidates that support what's right. These are simple things. We still, the day that we sitting on the podcast, we're able to sit on this podcast because of people like Martin Luther King, John Lewis. They fought for things that we didn't have. So the fact that they would give their lives to give us this opportunity, we owe a debt of gratitude to continue the fight, right? Why is it that we're still having a conversation that we have to give away free stuff and encourage Black people to come out to vote? It's a right. It's a right. It's your duty. What in the world? You let some new J's drop.